Came home from a weekend getaway with my secret lover, only to find my husband gone. On the kitchen table, a single envelope with my name. Inside, a USB drive and a chilling note. Watch this and then check the closet. What I found made my blood run cold. I am 38 years old, married to Mark for 15 years, living in a quiet suburb of Chicago. Our life together had become predictable, the spark between us dimmed by routine and unspoken grievances. I felt invisible, yearning for attention and excitement. That's when Alex came back into my life. Alex and I had been close friends in college, sharing late-night study sessions and dreams of the future. After graduation, we drifted apart, each consumed by our own paths. Out of the blue, he sent me a friend request on Facebook. Seeing his name brought back a flood of memories. I accepted, and we began messaging, catching up on the years we'd missed. Our conversation started innocently enough, reminiscing about college days, sharing updates about our lives. Alex had moved to Milwaukee, working as a graphic designer. He was still single, charming as ever, and had a way of making me feel special. As days turned into weeks, our messages became more frequent, more personal. He'd compliment my photos, tell me how much he missed our talks. I found myself eagerly awaiting his messages, my heart racing when his name popped up on my screen. One evening, as Mark watched TV in the living room, I sat in the kitchen, my phone buzzing with a new message from Alex. I have a conference in Chicago next month, he wrote. Would love to catch up in person. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Meeting Alex felt dangerous, yet thrilling. I'd like that, I replied, glancing nervously toward the living room. The day of our meeting arrived. I told Mark I was meeting an old friend for lunch. He barely looked up from the TV, muttering an absent, have fun. I felt a pang of guilt but pushed it aside. Alex and I met at a quaint cafe downtown. Seeing him in person after so many years was surreal. He looked good, better than I remembered. We talked for hours, laughter flowing easily between us. When it was time to leave, he hugged me tightly, his lips brushing my cheek. Let's not wait so long to do this again, he whispered. Our lunches became a regular thing. I'd find excuses to be in the city, and we'd spend stolen hours together. The attraction between us was undeniable, but we hadn't crossed any physical boundaries. That changed one rainy afternoon. We were in his car, parked along a quiet street, the windows fogged up from our breath. He leaned in, his lips capturing mine. The kiss was electric, igniting a fire I'd long thought extinguished. We pulled away, breathless, staring at each other. We shouldn't, I murmured, though my body betrayed my words. I know, he replied, his hand caressing my cheek. But we did. Guilt gnawed at me, but the exhilaration of being with Alex overshadowed it. We planned a weekend getaway to Milwaukee. I told Mark I had a work conference. He didn't question it, simply nodded and returned to his newspaper. That stung more than I expected. Did he not care? Or had we become so distant that my absence didn't matter? The weekend with Alex was everything I craved. We stayed at a charming bed and breakfast near Lake Michigan, spending our days exploring the city, our nights tangled in each other's arms. For the first time in years, I felt alive, desired. But as Sunday approached, reality loomed. I had to return to my life, to Mark. Driving back to Chicago, a storm of emotions raged within me. Guilt, fear, exhilaration, and a nagging sense of impending doom. I rehearsed my story, ensuring there were no gaps, no inconsistencies. I needed to be the woman Mark expected when I walked through that door. Pulling into our driveway, I noticed Mark's car was missing. Odd, but not alarming. I entered the house, calling out his name. Silence greeted me. The air felt heavy, the kind of stillness that precedes a storm. On the kitchen table, an envelope with my name and Mark's handwriting lay waiting. My heart pounded as I picked it up, my fingers trembling. I opened the envelope to find a USB drive and a note. Watch this, and then check the closet. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled to the living room, plugging the USB into the laptop. A video file appeared. With a deep breath, I clicked play. The screen flickered to life, showing grainy footage of Alex and me entering the bed and breakfast, holding hands, stealing kisses. The timestamps were from this very weekend. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the couch, a strangled sob escaping my lips. How did he know? How did he get this footage? Tears blurred my vision as I made my way to our bedroom closet. Dread pooled in my stomach. I opened the door to find Mark's side empty. His clothes, shoes, personal items, all gone. Another note lay on the shelf. I hope he was worth it. Don't contact me. I sank to the floor, the weight of my actions crushing me. I destroyed my marriage, betrayed the man who had stood by me through everything. The reality of my choices hit me like a freight train. I was alone. Days turned into weeks. Mark's absence was a constant reminder of my betrayal. I tried reaching out, but my calls went straight to voicemail, my messages unanswered. Friends told me he was staying with his brother in Indianapolis. He'd taken a leave from work, needed time to process. I couldn't blame him. I sought therapy, desperate to understand why I'd risked everything. Sessions unearthed buried resentments, unmet needs, and a deep-seated fear of invisibility. But understanding didn't absolve me. The guilt was a relentless companion. Months passed. I focused on rebuilding myself, delving into hobbies, reconnecting with friends, and continuing therapy. I learned to sit with my guilt, to acknowledge it without letting it consume me. Forgiving myself was the hardest part. One evening, as I prepared dinner for one, the doorbell rang. My heart leapt, hope and fear warring within me. I opened the door to find a courier holding an envelope. "Sign here," he said, handing me a clipboard. I scrawled my name, took the envelope, and closed the door. Inside was a letter from Mark. His words were measured, revealing the depth of his pain. He wrote of betrayal, of shattered trust, but also of reflection. He acknowledged his own shortcomings, how he'd taken me for granted, how we'd both let our marriage wither. He wasn't ready to see me, but he wanted me to know he was working through his feelings. Tears streamed down my face as I read his words. There was no promise of reconciliation, no hint of forgiveness, but there was understanding. It was more than I deserved. I didn't know what the future held. The path to redemption was long and uncertain. But I knew one thing: honesty, communication, and trust are the bedrock of any relationship. Without them, everything crumbles. I learned that the hard way. After getting Mark's letter, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, time could heal what I had broken. I didn't expect forgiveness, not right away, but the idea that he still cared enough to write gave me something to hold on to. I kept going to therapy. I avoided Alex completely. I blocked his number, deleted our messages, and swore to myself I'd never go back to that mess. I wanted to rebuild my life, even if it meant doing it alone. Then, 3 weeks after the letter, I noticed something strange. A black SUV started showing up across the street from my house. Parked for hours. No one ever got out. Just sat there. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe a neighbor had a new car. But it came back. Again. And again. Always different times, but always parked where it could see my front door. One night, I walked outside with the garbage and stared at it. The headlights flashed once. Just once. I froze. My heart started racing. I ran back inside and locked every door and window. Was it Mark? Was it Alex? Was it someone else entirely? The next morning, the SUV was gone. But that night, I found a note taped to my door. "You made your choice. Now live with it." No name. No handwriting I recognized. My stomach dropped. I called the police. They came, took the note, asked a few questions, and said they'd send someone to patrol the area more often. But their faces told me they didn't expect much to come from it. Could be a prank, one officer said. I didn't believe that. Someone was watching me. A few days passed without anything new. I started to feel like maybe it was over. Then my front window shattered while I was in the kitchen making tea. The sound was deafening. I dropped the mug and hit the ground. Glass sprayed into the living room, and a brick lay on the floor with another note tied to it. "Lying has a price." That night, I didn't sleep. I kept the lights on, clutched my phone, and sat on the couch staring at the door. My mind was a mess. Could Alex have done this? Had he gone crazy? Or was it someone else, someone I didn't even know? I called my friend Tasha the next morning. She'd been my closest friend since high school and one of the few people who didn't cut me off after Mark left. I told her everything. The SUV, the notes, the brick. "Jesus, Nora," she said. "This isn't just some angry ex. This is dangerous. You need to leave. Stay with me." I packed a bag and left that afternoon. But it didn't stop. 3 days into staying at Tasha's place, someone followed me from the grocery store. I noticed a motorcycle behind me the whole ride back. Same guy, dark helmet. Didn't try to talk. Just stayed on my tail until I pulled into her driveway. Then he sped off. Tasha wanted me to go to the police again. I did. Same answers. No plates. No fingerprints. Nothing they could do unless something more serious happened. "Be careful," they said, as if I wasn't already walking on eggshells. Then one night, as we were watching TV, my phone lit up. Unknown number. One message. "Did you tell him everything?" I showed it to Tasha. Her face went pale. "Tell who what?" she asked. That's when it hit me. There was more than just the affair. There was something else I hadn't told anyone, not even my therapist. 6 months before I met up with Alex, I found a text on Mark's phone. A woman named C texting late at night. Flirty, suggestive. I never confronted him. I just deleted the message and kept going like nothing happened. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe a coworker being weird. Or maybe he deleted the rest before I could see it. I chose not to look deeper. I convinced myself that snooping meant I didn't trust him. That if I didn't look, I didn't have to know. But maybe someone else knew. Maybe someone wanted me to suffer for what we both had done. The messages didn't stop. "Does he know you lied to him first? You're not the victim." And then, the final message. "He saw you long before the bed and breakfast." That one knocked the air out of me. I started thinking. Had Mark known all along? Had he found out I was cheating because he was watching me before? Was the footage just the final straw? And if he did know before, who else knew? Tasha asked me to go back to therapy and to get a lawyer. "This isn't just about a broken marriage anymore," she said. "This is about your safety." I agreed. But I had no idea what I was even protecting myself from anymore. The person behind the messages knew too much. About me. About Mark. About things I didn't tell anyone. I started digging, and what I found made my skin crawl. I didn't know where to start, but something deep down told me to go back. Back to the house I'd abandoned. Back to where all this began. I had to face it. I had to look at everything again, this time with open eyes. Tasha wasn't thrilled about it, but I promised I'd just go for an hour, during the day, and text her the moment I got there. When I pulled up to the house, it looked the same, quiet, still, like nothing had happened. But I knew better. I stepped inside and immediately felt that cold, hollow silence wrap around me again. I looked through drawers, photo albums, documents. I wasn't even sure what I was searching for, just that I'd know when I found it. And I did. Stuffed inside an old shoebox at the top of Mark's side of the closet was a small black leather-bound notebook. I don't know why I opened it. Curiosity? Good instinct? But when I did, my blood ran cold. It was a log. Dates, times, names, locations. It took me a moment to understand what I was looking at, but once it clicked, I nearly dropped the book. Mark had been following me. Not just recently, for months. The notes started innocently enough. Things like, Nora left house at 11:10 a.m., or Jim, 12:15 p.m., returned 1:30 p.m. But then it escalated. Phone call, smiled at screen. Not me. Third lunch with same man, downtown cafe. Booked room, Watson Lake B&B, reservation under fake name. He knew. He'd known before the trip to Milwaukee. And then came the most disturbing entry. Call from unknown number traced to Milwaukee, female voice. Left message, she's lying to both of us. Both of us. I sat on the bed, the notebook shaking in my hands. Who was the other person? Who else had I lied to? Then something else hit me. I dug through old phone records. Thankfully, I'd saved the paper bills for some reason. I scanned every number, every call I'd made, trying to match something, anything. And there it was. A number that kept showing up in my records. A number I didn't recognize. But it wasn't mine. It wasn't Alex's. It wasn't Mark's either. It belonged to C. I Googled it. The name that popped up made me gasp. Celeste Warner. A name from Mark's past. They'd dated for a short time before he and I got serious. I'd never met her, only heard about her once or twice. Mark had said she was complicated. I kept digging. Celeste lived in Milwaukee. That couldn't be a coincidence. And then I remembered, when Alex and I went to the B&B in Milwaukee, I noticed the woman at the front desk giving me a weird look. She seemed almost nervous. Now it made sense. Mark and Celeste had never stopped talking. She was the one who sent him the footage, not a private investigator. Her. I sat there stunned, trying to connect it all. Had Mark gone back to her? Had he used her to trap me? And if so, why was someone threatening me now? Then I got a text. Unknown number again. Getting close. Be careful. Not everything is what it seems. That night, I had Tasha sleep in my room with me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was going on. Someone wasn't just mad. I was being watched, manipulated. I called Alex. He didn't answer. But a minute later, he texted me. Don't. Can't talk. It's not safe. I replied, what's going on? No answer. Then, at 2:12 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A new message. From a different number. I told you to walk away. Now you've got his attention again. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about me and Mark. Or even about Alex. Someone else was in this. Someone with power. With information. Someone watching all of us. I started thinking about every man who'd ever been in Mark's orbit. Every coworker. Every old friend. And then I remembered his old boss, Daryl, quiet, cold, always watching. Daryl had been fired suddenly 2 years ago for misconduct. Mark never talked about it, but he changed after that. Became more guarded. More distant. Could it be Daryl? Why would he care? Unless Mark told him something. Maybe Mark confided in him back when the affair started. Maybe Daryl saw it as leverage. A way back into power. I called Tasha again, told her everything I discovered. She insisted I call the cops. But what was I going to say? Hey, someone might be threatening me based on a theory I have about my ex-husband's creepy old boss and my ex-affair partner's old flame? They'd laugh me out the door. So I decided to confront the one person who might tell me the truth. Celeste. I called the number. It rang once. Twice. Then a voice answered. Cold, flat. I told you to let it go. Celeste, I said, trying to stay calm. Why are you doing this? She laughed, low and bitter. You think this is about you? You really don't get it. Then explain it to me. You broke the rules. You lied. He was mine before he was yours. And now? You both belong to something bigger than your little games. And then she hung up. What the hell did that mean? Something bigger? I didn't sleep at all that night. I felt like I was standing in a room with walls that were slowly closing in. What had Mark gotten involved in? And how far was someone willing to go to silence me? I didn't have the answers yet, but I knew one thing. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for the truth. And maybe, for my life. I couldn't sleep after that call with Celeste. Her words echoed in my head. You both belong to something bigger than your little games. What the hell did that mean? I kept pacing in Tasha's living room until the sun came up. Something inside me snapped. I was done being scared, done being confused. I needed answers, and there was only one person left who could give them to me. Mark. I hadn't seen him since I got back from Milwaukee. I didn't know if he'd even talk to me, but I had to try. I drove to Indianapolis that morning. Tasha begged me not to go without telling someone where I was, so I dropped her a pin and promised to text every hour. She made me swear I wouldn't go alone inside if something felt off. I said I wouldn't. When I pulled into his brother's driveway, my hands were shaking. Mark's car was there. I stared at it for a while, heart thudding in my chest, then knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Finally, the door creaked open. It was Mark. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in weeks. His eyes locked with mine. No words. Just that heavy, terrible silence. I need to talk to you, I said. He didn't say a word, just stepped aside and let me in. The house was quiet. His brother wasn't home. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table like strangers. I know about Celeste, I said. That made him flinch, just a little. I found the notebook. I know you knew about Alex. Before the trip, I know you've been following me. He still said nothing. And I know someone's been threatening me, sending messages, watching the house, throwing a brick through the window. Was that you? His jaw tightened. Then finally, he spoke. No, but I knew it would come to this. Come to what? I asked. What the hell is going on, Mark? He looked down, took a breath, and then let it out slow. Celeste found out about Alex before I did. She sent me pictures, videos. I didn't believe her at first, but she kept pushing. Said you were lying to me, that we both had secrets. I swallowed hard. And then what? You started following me. I had to know the truth, he said. So I watched. I kept notes. I needed evidence. For what? For myself. To know it wasn't in my head. He paused, looked me dead in the eyes. I loved you, Nora. Even when I knew. I thought maybe I could fix it. By setting a trap? By showing you how far we'd fallen. I leaned back, my heart breaking all over again. And Celeste? His voice dropped. She wanted to punish you. Said you took something from her. I didn't even know she still existed. She never let go, he said. She's the one who's been harassing you. I tried to stop her. Told her it was over, but she doesn't listen. She said something about belonging to something bigger. What does that mean? Mark hesitated. She's part of a group. People who watch for cheaters, liars, people like us, I guess. They collect stories. They ruin reputations. It's sick. I thought it was all talk until you started getting the notes. The messages. I stared at him. You let this happen. He didn't argue. You let me be stalked. You let someone threaten me. All because you were angry. I was hurt, he snapped. I gave you 15 years, Nora. I trusted you. And you threw it away. We were both standing now, shouting across the table. You checked out long before I did. I yelled. You were cold, distant. You never touched me. You never looked at me. I was drowning, and you just watched. He slammed his fist on the table. So you cheated instead of talking to me? That's your excuse. No, Mark. That's my shame. The words hung there, sharp and raw. We both froze. Then Mark turned away, breathing hard. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't want you to get hurt. But you didn't stop it, I said quietly. You let it spiral. You wanted me to suffer. Silence again. And then, the door opened. It was his brother, Ryan. He looked between us, clearly catching the tension. Everything okay? No, I said. Nothing's okay. Ryan stepped in, looked at Mark. You told her yet? My head snapped around. Told me what? Mark didn't answer. Ryan sighed. Nora. Celeste isn't just some crazy ex. She's obsessed. She's been stalking Mark too. He didn't tell you because he thought he could manage it. But she's been showing up, calling, threatening to go to his job, post everything online. She's dangerous. I blinked. You let her near me knowing that? She said if I stayed away, she'd leave you alone, Mark said. I thought I could control her. A bitter laugh escaped my mouth. You can't even control yourself. That's when Ryan stepped between us. This ends now. We're going to the cops. I'm tired of both of you trying to handle this like it's some twisted game. She's unstable. And if you don't stop her, someone's going to get hurt. The ride back to Chicago was silent. I didn't go back to Tasha's. I went to the police. I showed them everything. Texts, pictures, the notebook, even the brick. With Ryan's and Mark's statements, they opened an investigation into Celeste. They traced the phone numbers, found footage of her near my house, near Mark's work. A restraining order was filed. She disappeared shortly after that. The harassment stopped, but the damage was done. I didn't go back to Mark. He didn't ask me to. We were broken, and we both knew it. Tasha helped me find a new apartment. I went back to therapy. I started a journal. Every day, I wrote one sentence about what I'd learned. Some days it was, I'm stronger than I thought. Other days, I ruined everything. Mostly it was, I survived. I see Mark sometimes. At the grocery store, or walking near the lake. We nod, maybe say hello. But we don't speak about the past. There's nothing left to say. I still don't know if I'm the villain or the victim. Maybe I'm both. Maybe we all are, in our own way. But I know this, secrets have power. And when you let them fester, they grow teeth. They bite. They bleed. And sometimes, they kill everything good around them. I didn't find peace. But I found something close to it. Truth. And that will have to be enough.